What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top-rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and you are listening to NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast, reaching over 250,000 readers of weha.com, West Hartford Magazine, and the Jewish Ledger, live 24/7, 365. And we are really excited to have you with us today. Before we get started, let's say hi to our co-host, Bob, and welcome him onto today's program. Hey, Bob.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Kaushik Makati, and Ronnie Newton, is a founder and partner in weha.com. Tom brings to West Hartford the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine, the Taste of West Hartford, and our next one is this April 27th, which is just a week away from when this podcast was going to post. So the Best of West Hartford and other fun events throughout the year. Post-production and distribution of our podcast is managed by Exvadio Media, a division of the Modern Observer Group. And today our guest is Tom Hickey, talking about the upcoming Taste of West Hartford. Hi, Tom.
Sorry, they're stuck with Tom Hickey. But if I was thinking, Bob, I'll give a shout out to Hillary. We probably should have had Hillary join us too, but that's I wasn't thinking that with Hillary. Hillary's instrumental in getting a lot of our things done as well. So hi, Hillary. That's so.
It was very nice to shout out that people actually do the work, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for a change. That's for sure.
There you go. So, this Taste, this is one we've done these for years. You've done these since how long? When did you start the Taste?
Oh my goodness. Well, gosh, what a great question. I should be prepared for that.
We don't go ahead.
Best of West Hartford is 12. So it was after the Best of West Hartford. It's you know what? I'm going to look it up, because if it's 10, I'm going to make a big deal. Out of that.
I mean, it feels like 10. It feels
it's somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it does feel like 10.
Great question.
So over the years, we've done in different neighborhoods around West Hartford, and now over the last, we're having it in New Britain.
Yeah, it's really sort of crazy, because we tried a lot of different venues, and really what we were looking for, Bob, was a partner. Somebody who would be just as excited, as we were about the event, and not that nobody else. We most recently were at the JCC, the Jewish Community Center. They were great. Prior to that, we were at different venues, and everybody's been really receptive. But we really wanted to find somebody who got just as excited as I did, about actually wanting to have, an event. And I don't know if it was the timing or whatever it was, but and a lot of people don't know this, AquaTurf bought Back Nine. So the tavern component, which is called Back Nine, at the Stanley Golf Course, the restaurant portion, is now owned by AquaTurf. And when everyone comes to see us at the Taste on Monday, April 27th, they'll see this amazing, beautiful, brand new venue that's just been built right off of the main. If you've never been to Stanley, I should probably back up for a second. There's a homestead, a beautiful homestead from the Stanley family. Stanley Tools, what were they called back then, Bob? I don't remember, but
Stanley Works.
Stanley Works. That's right, Stanley Works. Yeah, and they donated this land in this space to New Britain. And when Don, who's a great guy, who's the manager, was brought in, and then AquaTurf acquired them, and he had now all of a sudden the main house venue, and this brand new venue, to manage. He also was looking for a partner. So we sort of worked together, on this. So this, let me see, Monday, they're always Monday dates, Monday, April 27th, and also Monday, September 28th. And we stick with Mondays because we feel as though we're not what I'm trying to say, we're not competing with anyone's weekend. We're not bothering somebody on a Friday night or a Saturday night or asking them to come join us. Restaurants are typically slower, on Mondays and Tuesdays than they are. So we're not taking away from necessarily restaurant business, in that sense. And it really gives the participating restaurants an opportunity to spotlight themselves, and really shine. And hopefully that's what will happen on Monday, the 27th. I'm going to talk too much, Bob, so you'll have to shut me up.
So just give us a quick idea who are the restaurants that are
Oh my gosh,
coming.
it's an unbelievable list. Let me see if I can actually do it in alphabetical order. As I mentioned, Back Nine, because it's actually their homestead. We're going to be in Back Nine Tavern. Cafe Louise, who I think Louise is great. I think she's been involved in every single taste we've ever done. She's really amazing. So it'll be great to have her. Actually, we used to host the Best of West Hartford at Fleming's in Blueback Square. We sort of outgrew that venue. The last time we were there, people were standing on top of the couches. So we knew it was time to find a different venue. Cora, which is now in Blueback Square. It still is on or off of New Britain Avenue. That's Peruvian authentic restaurant, dining experience. Frida's, Frida, which is Mexican cuisine. And then if you're an ice cream freak like I am, Frisbee's, who's the new dairy barn in Blueback Square in West Hartford, but they are also in New Britain and Windsor. So it'd be great to have them. So we have a really awesome group of foodies, who will showcase their venue.
I think I had food at every one of those locations, and I will say that. So how I found Cora. This is, I think we did a taste in Elmwood way back in the day.
Oh,
And the first time I had Cora's food was there, and it was amazing. I know they're, I think a James Beard Award winner. I just recently had the Frisbee's ice cream. I come back from Springfield, and I stopped in Windsor and at their location there, and it's phenomenal ice cream. So every restaurant you have is a different flavor taste, different flavor,
no, no,
different different cuisine,
no.
and they all sound awesome. Is the tavern going to also have their own food out there?
Well, yeah, and again, I think it depends. I'll find out this week, and of course on social media. So follow us. We will announce what food they are going to sample, and bringing that event. So Back Nine doesn't know exactly what they will, do yet, but it depends on what everyone else is. So Back Nine, I mean, my gosh, you can't go wrong from pizza to burgers to, sandwiches and a little bit. So last time we did a taste with Back Nine, they did wings, I believe, in that sense. So stay tuned.
Okay, gotcha.
What happens with that? What we're also excited about with all of these participants is that because we were able to get a presenting sponsor, which we've been working on for many, 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 many years now, it's People's Bank, if I can say that. I won't say it more than once, on this podcast. But they are sponsoring all of our taste events in Best of West Hartford this year. So all of those restaurants from Back Nine on through, all of them are also participating on September 28th. So we'll have them, this Monday, the 27th of April, and we'll have them again on September 28th. But we'll have many more, by then as well, which will be very exciting. And I don't know if, again, I don't want to say too much about the Back Nine venue. If you've never been there, this is the perfect time of year in early fall, in September, because they have amazing patios, with heaters. For those of you, if you're like my wife, you're always cold, the whole bit, but they have great, heaters built right into the tables. It's really just a very fun, venue and format. So hopefully we'll be able to choice. Oh, and my gosh, Hillary would kill me. All of this for only $30.
Wow.
I mean, that
I need to put a price out there.
how could I forget the most important part? And really, if you think about that, you basically have 6 opportunities, to eat. That's what, $5. I mean, a pop to have a great, sampling or taste of what those restaurants, want to showcase that evening.
Where will you find West Hartford's best and most comprehensive business news? At weha.com. Subscribe to the weha.com newsletter Business Buzz for free every Monday at weha.com. Log on to we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
Well, let's just do it quick. I mean, I'm more of a foodie than you are. Frida's is phenomenal. I've eaten there several times. Fleming's is probably one of the best steakhouses out there. Carr is a unique unique experience. If you've never been to the restaurant, it's a unique experience. And how I ended up learning about them was, again, a decade ago or so, at a Taste. Frisbee's is great ice cream, and I've been to the tavern a couple times with your events. So every place on that list is
And Bob, if you don't mind me
mouth-watering.
asking you, because it's new for her, Louise at Cafe Louise, obviously she's been a caterer for, I don't know if she was on the program probably 30 years or, a long time. But she just opened up a to-go service.
Gotcha.
At her establishment. So you can walk in there and get all the things that she's known for, in to-go containers, on your way home from work or a meeting or, whatever it is that you want to do.
I have to apologize, Cafe Louise, because I have eaten. I mean, I've been to a number of events where they've been caterers. So I have not eaten their food out of that space yet, but I have been to many events where they have catered amazing meals. So, as far as the location, so folks who don't know, it's really just you go past. If you're driving down, what's the name of the avenue there?
On New Britain Avenue, just go straight all the way up to West Farms.
Right, and just head past West Farms on your right. Then there would be Costco on your left, and just past the Costco on your left is.
I always say to people, it's that crazy area where nobody knows what town they're in.
Right, exactly.
Newington, Farmington, West Hartford. What is it? New Britain.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's actually amazing how that all four towns come together right over there, right? Okay, cool. So as a history of the tastes, it's one besides the I don't want. Why is it that you chose New Britain over West Hartford?
Well, it's again, the partner was just huge. They are equally as excited, if not more. Now granted, I actually had a conversation with one of the attendees for the last event that we had there, and they've driven by a million times and they've seen that big stone mansion, up on the hill, but they didn't know what it was. They're not a golfer,
Right.
and that. So I think that from a partnerships perspective, I don't want to put words in Dom's, mouth, but I think that they were looking for, a way to get the word out, for people to, learn what they were all about and see and learn that they're there, and the whole bit. And my daughter-in-law's bridal shower, has been there. So, I mean, they really, if you haven't been there in a while, they've really come a long way. And not only because of AquaTurf, but, I think just because they're trying to put themselves on the map.
It's also difficult to find venues within West Hartford. I think that's one thing we've had conversations about with the Chamber of Commerce has had issues with finding venues. And the JCC is a great spot, but it is kind of out in the middle of it's far off the beaten path for folks where they are. So there are a number of places in West Hartford that just don't fit the bill.
And thank you for saying that it's actually in New Britain, because I get all kinds of emails about why is the Taste of West Hartford not in West Hartford? And it's not by design. Again, it's by partnership. And everybody from if Mayor Cantor were on our program today, she just bought tickets. She'll be there. A little bit. So you don't know that you're not in West Hartford. And I say that all the time. My wife and I go to eat there all the time because it's right off of Route 9. It's very easy, to get to it. The other thing too is by design, two things that happened when we were looking for a partner, People's Bank, to be a sponsored, Back Nine, Stanley Golf Course to be a location. We also wanted to turn this more into a nonprofit, a portion. So the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce is our beneficiary. And each restaurant that's participating is going to bring $50 worth of gift cards. So I don't know if they're going to bring 150 or 225s or 510s or, whatever it is. And we will auction those off that evening, and all those proceeds will go directly to the Chamber of Commerce. We don't get involved in keeping any portion, of that. I laugh all the time. That's why we'll never be millionaires, but we like to have a nonprofit, angle, so that we feel as though we're all coming together in the spirit of networking, but at the same time doing some good for the community.
Well, how do people get tickets?
They can. We are right on Eventbrite. If Hillary were here, she'd tell you. Just Google it, or go to Eventbrite, and then under the search menu, just do Taste of West Hartford, or you do April 27th, and we'll pop right up. And you buy your tickets online. Everything's done digitally and electronically. Even if you show up that evening, which you can, for that, it will all be done. Very rarely. I don't know if we've ever gotten cash, but we would take cash. But usually it's a debit or a credit card. So you can do that in advance. The only risk you would have of waiting until at the door, is that we would be sold out. Our capacity is 150 people. We do that by design because it isn't fair to, anyone else who bought a ticket, in advance, that they come and all of a sudden there's no food left, or whatever. So, we don't want to bring in 250 people, even though it could accommodate that, because the food's important.
Also, the restaurants themselves are providing this at cost, or
Absolutely, and it's too much for them.
Yeah, it's actually, so 150 is a good number.
Mhm.
Anything else we didn't cover?
The only thing I didn't say the time, 5:30. We design it to be right after work, so that you can either come and grab a bite to eat before you go home. But it's only 5:30 to 7:30, so we don't linger. This doesn't go on all night long. But the restaurant and the bar is open. I don't know what time they close. On Monday night, but you're welcome to stay. We just did our Best of West Hartford there in the fall, and I was told that people didn't leave until midnight. They were all celebrating and having a good time, and which is all part of sort of that whole networking atmosphere, and a very important part of finding a sponsor so that people could stay. I always say, with a buzzkill, to announce at 7:30, everybody has to go home and go to bed. Because yes, okay, I'll go home and go to bed, but not everybody wants to, in that sense. So that's what's nice about having a location like Back 9 where you can stay there.
All right, so this podcast will drop on Friday, the 25th, 24th. I take a look at my calendar here. So 24th, and then you'll also see it on weha.com on Monday the 27th. So you're listening to it on Monday the 27th. Get your tickets today, and I'll see you on tonight at 5:30 at the Taste of West Hartford at Back 9 in New Britain, Connecticut, on the Stanley Golf Course. Is that about it?
That sounds fantastic. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it, and we will look forward to seeing you there on the scene. Thanks, Bob.
Take care, Tom.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.